Now we are ready to begin building the first assembly. This assembly is called the crank and slotted lever assembly, and this is step 1 of 2. This assembly consists of 5 parts: a bracket, a wheel, a long and short linkage, and a hook. And you can see from the directions we're going to be creating this assembly in metric units, and because the answer is a dimensional value, the assembly origin is arbitrary. We are going to locate all 5 part files in the working files folder. And once you locate the 5 parts, go ahead and open each part. Next, we are ready to begin building the assembly. But before we go into SolidWorks, you know when you create a new assembly, you always need to decide which part to insert first. The first part you insert becomes fixed. So looking at the directions, it says the wheel is mated to the bracket. The long linkage is mated to the bracket. The short linkage is mated to the long linkage and the hook is mated to the bracket. So it's pretty obvious the bracket is the primary part. So when we create that new assembly, we will insert the bracket as our first part. Let's go to SolidWorks. On the screen, I have the bracket part file open. I am going to select the file drop-down menu and then select Make Assembly from Part. Because all 5 parts are currently open, they do appear in this window. I'll verify bracket is highlighted and then select the green check mark. Now before I insert the next part, it's always good to verify you are working in the correct units. So looking at the bottom right hand corner of my screen, I do see I am working in MMGS, so I am good to go. Let's go back to our directions. Number 1 says the wheel is mated concentric and flush to the end of the middle pin on the bracket. So looking at the view, this red circle here is the middle pin on the bracket. And this wheel is mated concentric and flush to this pin. Let's go back to SolidWorks and insert the wheel component. I'll do that by selecting Insert Components, selecting Wheel, and then placing the wheel near that pin. I am going to begin by applying the concentric mate. I'll select the mate button, then select the face of this middle pin and the face of the hole in the wheel. I'll verify concentric is selected and then select the green check mark. Now that concentric mate is applied. Next is the flush mate. I want the front face of this wheel to be flush with the face of the pin. Another name for flush is coincident. So I'm going to select the front face of the wheel, the front face of the pin, verify coincident, and select the green check mark. Let's go ahead and fit this to the screen and go back to our directions. Number 2 says a long linkage is concentric and flush to the lower pin on the bracket. Looking at the view, the directions are referring to this area. And then it says the long linkage is tangent to the pin on the wheel. Looking at the view, the directions are referring to this pin being tangent to the slotted feature in the long linkage. So let's insert the long linkage component. We'll close out of Mate, select Insert Components, select Long Linkage, and place that linkage near that lower pin. I'll begin by applying the concentric mate, verify concentric, and then green check mark. Next, I'll apply the coincident mate between this face and the face of the pin, verify coincident, and select green check mark. The last item here is applying the tangent mate between the face of this pin and one of the long inside faces of the slotted feature in the long linkage. So I'm going to select this face first, followed by this face. I'll verify tangent. Now before I select the green check mark, I do want to show you one item. Everything looks correct in my assembly. However, if yours appears like this, it's because the tangent mate was applied to the opposite side of what you desired. So all you need to do is select the Flip Mate Alignment button, and it will flip the mate alignment. And once you have the desired results, select the green check mark. Returning to the directions, Number 3 says the short linkage is concentric and flush to the long linkage. Looking at the view, the directions are referring to this area. And then it says the short linkage is concentric and flush to the hook. Since we don't have the hook inserted at this time, we'll apply that mate in a later step. Let's go back to SolidWorks, insert the short linkage, and place it near the long linkage. I'll go to mate, apply the concentric mate, verify concentric, select the green check mark, select the face of the pin on the short linkage, the front face on the long linkage, verify coincident, and green check mark. Let's go ahead and fit this to the screen, place this in the correct orientation, or at least near the correct orientation. And returning to the directions, number 4 says the hook, which is item number 5, is flush to the front and rear faces of the bracket. Looking at the view, the hook is flush to the front and rear faces of the bracket. That's easy enough. So let's go ahead and return to SolidWorks. Insert the hook component. And let's go ahead and place it above the assembly. We'll rotate this around to the back side. And we'll begin by applying the concentric mate between the 2 round features, verify concentric, and then select the green check mark. Now we're going to apply the coincident mate between the 2 faces. So I'll select the face of the hook, the face of the pin and the short linkage, verify coincident, and select the green check mark. Everything's looking good. Looks like we need one more mate to fit this hook inside of the bracket. I am going to simply select the top face of the hook, the mating face on the inside of the bracket, apply a coincident mate, and select the green check mark. Let's go ahead and close out of mates, fit this to the screen. We'll hold down the left mouse button, and we'll move the cursor in a circular pattern, basically rotating the wheel or moving that component. And you can see the assembly does not fall apart. Everything appears to be mated correctly. So we are in good shape with the building of this assembly.